Thank you for joining us today on The Frame, brought to you by Access Framingham. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick. Our top story tonight regards major news for a staple of local commerce. There's a new owner for one of Framingham's established retail destinations, as Shoppers World has been acquired by Urban Edge Properties, a real estate company based out of New York. They announced their third quarter earnings on Tuesday. That report announced the group's $309 million deal with Site Centers, another real estate company based out of Ohio. The transaction also included the acquisition of Gateway Center in Everett. In that report, Urban Edge stated, quote, "These properties support the company's strategy of acquiring high-quality retail real estate with future growth potential while providing us with critical mass in the Boston market." Shoppers World opened back in 1951 as one of the first suburban shopping malls in the nation. Located between Route 9 and Route 30, the 758,000 square foot space is now anchored by retail giants such as Marshalls, TJ Maxx, and Best Buy. An update now on the fallout of an apartment fire that broke out this past Saturday along Worcester Road, as city officials said that most of the people that were displaced by the blaze have now returned to their units. Firefighters were dispatched to 1630 Worcester Road to knock down the 3-alarm fire. 40 people in total were displaced by the flames, while 5 injuries were also reported, including 4 firefighters sustaining minor injuries. They've since been released from a local medical center. Framingham Fire Chief Michael Dutcher added that a 5th person, a pregnant woman, was also taken to a local hospital. The flames made apartments uninhabitable, though city officials added that most people originally displaced were able to return to their units on Sunday. Even then, some 4th West residents still remain without a place to stay. In turn, emergency sheltering is being offered by the American Red Cross, with assistance from the complex's management company. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey recently announced a work authorization clinic for migrants within the state's emergency shelter system starting the week of November 13th. Organizations from across the state will offer resources for migrants applying for work authorizations, including training and legal aid. The clinic will be held in Middlesex County by the state alongside the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. In a statement, Governor Healey said, quote, "This clinic will be critical for building on the work that our administration has already been leading to connect more migrants with work opportunities, which will help them support their families and move out of emergency shelter into more stable housing options." Framingham, in addition to many other communities in the Commonwealth, are still feeling the impact of people seeking asylum from other countries coming into the state's emergency shelter system. Healey has made it a point to speed up the work authorization for migrants in order to free up space in the shelter system. In mid-October, she called upon the federal government to offer more aid in mitigating the situation, adding that the shelter system is nearing its max capacity.
From that point on, we will no longer be able to guarantee shelter placement for new families entering the system. I want to ensure you that we will continue to engage, assess, and serve every family who appeals for help as best we can.
Emergency Assistance Director Lieutenant General Scott Rice announced Monday that with more than 7,300 families within the system, state officials are preparing to launch a wait list after the limit of 7,500 families is reached. An expansion to the home base program is also being prepared in preparation for that threshold being hit. As the review of the Framingham Home Rule Charter begins, the city's Charter Review Committee is seeking input from local residents. After Framingham officially became a city back in 2018, the official charter has become subject to a review every 5 years. A committee has already been established in order to ensure that the wants and needs of the local community are still being represented by the charter. Residents are being provided with multiple ways to give their thoughts on the matter. A suggestion form can be found on framingham.ma.gov, while city officials are also preparing an online survey. Any comments solicited by the review committee could be used for their recommendations presented to the city council, which are due in May. The committee typically meets at the Memorial Building on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of every month as well. More details can be found by emailing charter review, all one word, at framingham.ma.gov. A recent community forum regarding the potential Nobscot rezoning had a number of public officials on hand, namely Mayor Charlie Sositsky and multiple city council members. The meeting was held at the Krista McAuliffe Branch Library along Water Street on October 21st. It concerned the fallout of pitches for development in the Nobscot area, which was informally pitched to the Framingham Planning Board earlier this year by the group J & Company. Roughly 30 acres of land could be primed for mixed-use developments via a new B4 zoning category. Many residents of the group Future of Nobscot showed up to make their voices heard, echoing the sentiments they've aired for months. Traffic, infrastructure, and environmental consequences have been causes for worry by the group as they continue to affirm their opposition to rezoning the area. City councilors George King, Christine Long, and Adam Steiner were among those in attendance who did not show support for the current ideas for developments as presented. Steiner said that Sasitsky's attendance was an important step in order to hear the community's thoughts, though he added that no ideas related to Nobscot's rezoning have interested him.
I would like it to stay the way it is. I think it's good. Whatever I can say legally, I'm willing to say. I'm not interested in what I've heard so far.
King added that something will likely go up in the area in the future, as the plots are already owned. With that in mind, he explained that the important thing should be ensuring that no negative impacts for the neighborhood will be felt.
So the idea is going to stay as it is probably not realistic. So I think that's where their vigilance has to be on this as we go forward.
The mayor told the crowd multiple times that he has no formal stance on the matter at this point, since no official development plan has reached his desk. He added that he wants an open line of communication with the community.
The land is privately owned. Everybody has the right to develop their land. We have an obligation to keep an open mind of what we'd like to see there. And I think we have an obligation to at least give any landowner an opportunity to make a legitimate proposal and go through the process before we stamp it down and say no.
Sean Silk, a candidate for District 2 City Council seat next week, asked if the city could possibly buy the land in question, especially after the acquisitions of land for a new community center and school on Framingham's south side. King noted that the propositions for projects funded by the state's Community Preservation Act can be made by anyone or any group, including Future of Nobscot. If you'd like to learn more about that story or others presented here on the program, you can visit our website. It's www.theframe.news. We've got you covered, from local weather to traffic to other stories that matter to your community. And also, if you've got a tip for us, you can send us an email at theframe@accessfram.tv, or you can call our tip line. It's 508-216-0003. Election Day is next week, Tuesday the 7th, and the Framingham City Clerk's office has been hard at work to ensure that everything runs smoothly. We sat down with City Clerk Lisa Ferguson to get some insight on the preparation process for the election. This is our weekly focus. The Frame is pleased to be joined now by the City Clerk for Framingham, Lisa Ferguson. Lisa, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially this time of the year, to join us and speak with us for a few moments.
Thank you so much for having me.
And again, the election is coming up this Tuesday, the 7th of November. For Framingham. And I wanted to start by taking a step back, Lisa. What work from you in your office goes into setting up an election like this?
So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and it generally takes about 2 months to prepare for an election. All the specifics of, testing the machines, getting the ballots printed, making sure that the machines are set to 0. We just did that. And a lot of what we do too in 2 months is getting staffing for the polls. It's been difficult in the past to get poll workers, but lately, since COVID, believe it or not, it's been pretty easy. We have a lot of volunteers. So a lot of training goes into that to make sure that they are upholding the law and that people have access to the polling locations and have, a pretty seamless time of casting their ballot on election day.
Now, leading into this election, how many, roughly speaking, would you say, how many volunteers or people are involved in making sure that this election goes off without a hitch?
So we have our poll workers. Generally, we have 3 precincts in each polling location for the most part. We have a warden who is in charge of the entire polling location. We have clerks responsible for all of the reports, and making sure if there's any issues with any of the voters that they're handled through the clerk. And then we have inspectors who check people in. And the last and probably one of the most important people at the polling location is the greeter. The greeter has what we call a poll pad. So it's a pad that contains all of the voters in Framingham, and it tells the greeter where this person is voting. So, we do a lot of things before Election Day, but we also make sure that on Election Day, the first person that the voter will see is the greeter, who will tell them if one, they're in the right location, but also where is my precinct? Where do I go to get my ballot?
Now, what sort of a turnout are you expecting for this 2023 election, Lisa?
So this year is not there's no mayoral race. So it just tends to be lower than your typical city election that has a mayor running. So the last election where we only had at-large councilors and district councilors, district school committee, library and trustees, the turnout in 2019 was I believe it was 18.5% turnout. So it is a lot lower. This particular election, I'm looking at anywhere between a 15 to 20% turnout.
And even you alluded to it, but even in a so-called off year, no mayoral race, there's nothing at the state level that really jumps out on the ballot. Of course, no presidential or congressional elections happening here in Massachusetts. But even in that so-called off year, multiple local races are still to be decided. What strategies are you and your team trying to ensure that the most possible people do make it out to the polls next week?
So we do a lot in preparation for the election. We try to get out the word about the election as much as possible. We are always open to any feedback or suggestions. It's good to hear from anyone in Framingham who has a great idea, but we put signs out. So we've had electronic signboards out throughout Framingham on the north side and the south side. There's information on our website. We have a new newsletter in Framingham, so we've been promoting it on the newsletter. And aside from in Twitter and also Instagram and Facebook, aside though from having all of the electronic and the social platforms that we use, we also have information at the libraries. We have them at the Callahan Center, as well as the warrant. The warrant is posted in every single precinct publicly so that people can see that as well.
Now, you were mentioning COVID just a few moments ago, following the increase in alternative voting methods that came during the peak of the pandemic, have you found that more Framingham residents are using resources like early voting or voting by mail to make sure that their voices are heard?
Most definitely. Before COVID hit, we did have vote by mail in place already. We didn't have it for local elections, and we didn't have it for primaries, but we already had it in place. And I would say probably like 30 people voted by mail. Before COVID, the voting early in person was very, very, very popular. We tend to have about, depending on the turnout, usually for a presidential election, we have about a 76% turnout. And we're finding that half the people are voting by mail and half the people are voting in person. So we do have options. You can vote early by mail, or you can vote in person early. So whatever you choose to do, we do find that there is, depending on what people's situations are, or, what they're dealing with, it's not can I vote? It's how can I vote that's best for me, and when I can decide when I want to vote.
Once again, folks, that's Lisa Ferguson, the city clerk for Framingham. And one more reminder, Election Day is the 7th of November. Polls open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. We thank you for your time, Lisa.
Thank you very much for having me.
And Ferguson recommends that voters double-check their voting location by either calling the city clerk's office at 508-532-5521 or by looking it up online. She did remind those looking to vote by mail that those ballots have to be received at the very latest by 8 p.m. on Election Day, though she did say those voters should submit their ballots as soon as possible. They can do so by delivering it to the city clerk's office at the Memorial Building or by dropping it off at an official drop box. One is located right behind the Memorial Building, while the other is at the McAuliffe Branch Library on Water Street. Shifting gears to our weather now. It's looking like sunshine will continue into Friday. Mostly sunny with highs in the upper 50s and lows in the mid 40s. Saturday also calls for mostly sunny skies with some clouds here and there. Highs around 60 and lows in the upper 30s. And then on Sunday, partly cloudy conditions early on with skies clearing as the evening continues. Highs in the upper 50s and lows in the low 40s. All in all, not a bad forecast for the first weekend of November. A reminder that we're on Instagram. Follow us there for daily updates and tag us when you're out and about in the community. We can be found at @FrameNews_. Subscribe to the Access Framingham YouTube channel and hit the bell icon there to be notified when new episodes go up as well. Let's take a look at what else is happening in our community. Specifically on the business side of things, Mayor Sisitsky recently signed another executive order, his second over the past month, to establish the Framingham Asian, Black, Brazilian, Hispanic, and Latino, or ABBHL for short, Business Advisory Council. 13 people who manage or own local ABBHL businesses will comprise the council. From there, they'll advise the mayor on a number of topics. Its goal is to expand access, especially linguistically, to provide sustainability, and to give ABBHL business owners and residents a voice in business-related matters. Applications to join the council are now live. The deadline to apply is November 30th. More details can be found at framinghamma.gov. Property values across Framingham are up, according to a report from the city's Board of Assessors. In accordance with state law, the board recently carried out their fiscal year 2024 5-year certification review. All real and personal property had to be evaluated in order to ensure that fair and full market values as of the start of this year are reflected, as the board used data from 2022 and 21 to complete the process. The findings show that single-family homes in Framingham saw a roughly 10.5% raise to their value on average, while the average condominium saw a bump of about 14%. Apartments on average also saw an approximate 22% jump in value. The city reported that the average commercial value went up by an estimated 5.3%, and the average industrial value saw a roughly 8.6% increase. A career fair is being held at the South Middlesex Opportunity Council's 7 Bishop Street site on Saturday. Jobs in multiple industries, including education, manufacturing, transportation, and maintenance, will be featured during the event, with employers like Coca-Cola, Brandeis University, Vitra Health, and Smock themselves in attendance. The fair will run from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. For more details, call 508-620-2311 or email rhicks@smoc.org. On Sunday, the annual Devon's Dash 5K will be held at Jack's Abbey on Clinton Street. The event honors the memory and legacy of Devon Swow, a Framingham boy who passed away in 2017 at the age of 6. He battled a rare form of pediatric brain cancer known as DIPG. His fight sparked a worldwide campaign of inspiration led by the hashtag #WhyNotDevon. In 2020, the Why Not Devon Foundation to End DIPG was created to aid families dealing with that diagnosis. The 5K will help the organization's goal of spreading awareness and working towards finding the cure for DIPG. Registration on the day of the race will be held from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m., with the race set to step off at 11. Racewire.com has more information on Devon's Dash. And a heads up for the weekend, as it's almost time to fall back. Daylight saving time will be coming to an end at 2 a.m. Sunday morning. At that time, clocks will be moving back by 1 hour. With that in mind, homeowners are being recommended by the National Fire Protection Association to check that their fire and carbon monoxide detectors are working properly. Some alarms powered by batteries need to be changed at least once a year, so daylight saving time starting or ending offers a good opportunity to make that swap if need be. Alarms with non-replaceable batteries designed to work for upwards of 10 years should be checked as well. The NFPA advises residents to replace the entire alarm if it starts chirping to indicate a low battery. A reminder that The Frame is an initiative of Access Framingham, your local community media center located right here at our Vernon Street studios. Thanks to them, we're able to present The Frame to you. Access Framingham can be found on RCN Channel 3, RCN HD Channel 1100, Comcast Channel 9, and Verizon Channel 43. The Frame airs on Access Framingham Mondays through Fridays at noon and 7 p.m., as well as on weekends at noon. More details can be found online at www.accessfram.tv. That's all for this week's Framingham News in Focus. For everyone here at The Frame, we want to thank you for spending time with us. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.